Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Gap Major and this is Admiralty Reports. Admiralty Reports is your gameplay submissions with my commentary, and today we have a submission from Eternal Abyss, who is playing in the Japanese legendary tier battleship Yamato. Now this is a tier 7 and legendary game of domination on Sea of Fortune. On the enemy team, we have a Yudachi, a Lightning, a Wichita, a division consisting of an Alaska and a Grosser Kurfürst, another division consisting of a Roma and a Jean Bar, and a third and final division consisting of a double Grosser Kurfürst. Now, Eternal spawned on the right side, and he's making a move towards the Charlie Cap. On the friendly team, we have a division consisting of a Vacaville and a Cleveland. Then we have a Kagero, an Alaska, an Odin, a Richelieu, a Yamato. And then we have Eternal Abyss's division, which consists of obviously himself in the Yamato, and Raged Goliath in the Grosser Kurfürst. Getting out to the right flank and getting an opening fire volley on the Alaska. Giving her a gentle tickle, but we're going to get those guns nicely reloaded. Now, as you're probably hearing from the vocal lines, the commander in the ship has a very sore throat at the moment. In fact, it seems to be all the way throughout, and that may get a little irritating. Personally, I'm not too keen on it. Taking in the Alaska a little bit more. The commander he's chosen is Arthas the Cold, the Warhammer 40k Chaos commander for the Japanese, which obviously comes with these lovely unique voice lines. Now, he's level 15 legendary 2. Now he has a base trait called Blind Rage, which basically does plus 20% damage from your battleship's main battery when the catapult fighter is launched, but it does reduce the duration of the catapult fighter. Now getting a Citadel and a devastating strike on the Alaska, so that's going to clear up this flank very nicely for the friendly Vacaville. Now when it comes to his commander traits, he's taken Brawler, Avatars of Slaughter, Firefighter, Master Mechanic and Will to Rebuild, so very much like a survivability style build. Now in regards to Avatars of the Slaughter, this will improve your ship's shell damage, reduce incoming damage to your Citadel, however it will increase damage to the extremities of your ship, which will be the superstructure, your bow and your stern. So moving up forward here, we've got a Grosser Kurfürst kicking around. I think we've also got a Roma up there somewhere. So as always, down in the description will be his command build. Now the inspirations he's taken are the duo that most people usually take, which is Cunningham and Madden. Cunningham's Mastery 13 and Madden's Mastery 17. Now, as always, down there will be the modules. Modules wise, he's taken Aim Assistance Module 1, Propulsion Module 2, Target Acquisition Module 1, and Main Battery Module 3. Looks like we got ourselves two Grosser Kurfürst and a Roma kicking around here, so it's going to be interesting to see how we go about this. Now, obviously, the Yamato does have a weak point, which is the cheeks, which is just either side of the front turret. However, he's keeping those nicely angled at the moment. So we should be alright at the moment from these battleships, which are all on his bow. So, the Yamato. An interesting Japanese design, equipped with the largest caliber guns in the game at the moment, the 18.1 inch guns. Now, she was commissioned in December 1941, so pretty much around, or just a little bit before Pearl Harbor. Now, the whole concept of the Yamato class, well, from the Washington Naval Treaty, the Royal Navy and the United States Navy had parity, and so basically the size of their fleets should be about the same, or the displacement wise, whereas the Japanese were limited to about 3/4 the displacement or size of the other two powers. So what this kind of meant was that if Japan got into a war against both powers, she would be massively outnumbered, and even if she got into a war against one of these powers, she would still be outnumbered. And so when it came to the London Naval Treaty, Japan decided to actually break away from the Naval Treaty mythology, and she started to move towards trying to do what she could in order to get an advantage. At the end of the day, Japan's industry could not really compete with the speed of the British and the Americans, and so they decided if you can't outbuild them, try to build better than them. Nice broadside Grosser Kurfürst there to take advantage of. So what they did was decide, well, if we can't build more battleships than the British and the Americans, we'll build a bigger, better battleship. And so the intention here was to basically keep it all under wraps, keep it all secret. So much so that I think an entire building was built around the Yamato in order to actually hide her from outside prying eyes, I guess you could say. Furthermore, well, pretty much everyone who worked in her was sworn to secrecy, I guess you could say. And it wasn't really publicly acknowledged, the caliber of the Yamato's guns, until after the war. Although whether the Allied powers did have an inkling of the caliber of the guns on the Yamato during the war is always up to debate. There are obviously mixed reports. Some intelligence and stuff does indicate 18-inch guns, but then also the majority of word by mouth was 16-inch guns were expected in the Yamato class. Now, although the Yamato is big, bad, and powerful in game, in reality she didn't really do too much because she was such a status ship. The Japanese really didn't want to risk her during the early part of the war. She was moved around in order to potentially engage American forces, but never actually doing so. When she did actually fire her guns in anger at enemy vessels, this wasn't until 1944 in October, where she ended up engaging Taffy 3, which was a light escort carrier and destroyer group, in which the Japanese actually ended up breaking away from the engagement because they thought they were up against superior forces due to the tenacity of the American pilots during the engagement, and also the tenacity of the American destroyers. Because the Japanese were expecting to come across full-blown fleet carriers, they thought the destroyers were cruisers, and so started the engagement by firing armor-piercing shells at ships that were so narrow and thin that the shells would pass straight through, and ships with the same displacement as probably a single turret of the Yamato, probably even less. So that was a rather amusing engagement. I think Yamato ends up trying to avoid some American torpedoes that have been fired at her, and she ends up turning away, and after doing so she's unable to re-engage the Americans before the end of the battle. Now, she obviously did sink during the war, where she was sent on a one-way mission to Okinawa in Operation Tengo. The idea of this was the Yamato was to steam from mainland Japan to Okinawa, ram itself onto the beach, and act as a fortress. The reason why was obviously it was twofold. Basically, Japan was running low on fuel to the point where the Navy wasn't really doing too much, and the Imperial Japanese Army obviously weren't too pleased that they felt like they were fighting the war while the Navy was getting away not doing anything. The reason why the Navy wasn't doing anything is because they couldn't go anywhere. And so in order to save face, the Japanese Navy decided to do this one-way mission with the Yamato. She obviously didn't make it. She was attacked furiously from American carriers, and during the engagement she took in the region of 11 torpedo hits and 6 bomb hits. Now, the Americans had learnt from their attack on the Musashi to focus their torpedo attacks on a single side of the ship, to therefore make the flooding focus on a single side of the ship, and therefore making it so that counter-flooding can't completely work against the incoming flooding, and therefore causing the ship to list. And the Yamato did go down, and after sinking, or during sinking, her main magazine did actually detonate as well. And so we're up to 2 kills and 165,000 damage. Let's gross occur first. I mean, it might have been a little more tempting to go for the broadside gross occur first at the back there, but securing kill number 3, so can't really complain too much about that, I guess you could say. We also have the Roma here, and we should have a nice view on the broadside of the Roma here too. Very nice. So yeah, interesting commander build. It's going to be interesting to see if he does use that catapult fighter during this game. I think he's already used one earlier, right at the start, so he's got another one ready to go. So we're going to have to see how that goes. He's nicely bout in here, which is obviously helpful. About ricocheting the enemy shells as they come in. Although he is potentially offering a bit of cheek to the Rome if the Rome comes to the corner, but the Rome's got off some broadside. Aiming for the turrets on the grosser curve first. Getting Confederate, very nice. Noting that he's only down to 16,000 HP, so he's calling the Vaquil in for support, and we can only hope that the Vaquil actually understands what Eternal means here. And what Eternal means is please get within close proximity to me so I can use my will to rebuild. Aiming at the barbette of the Bravo turret on the grosser curve first. Very nice, getting 2 penetrating hits on the barbette, that's quite nice. Rome is now offering you broadside, so you're flicking it out here. You did use a catapult fighter on that engagement there. And you're going to have the catapult fighter for this as well, so that's obviously going to improve your shell damage, which is going to be interesting. So let's see how much we can get out of this volley. Ooh, quite nice actually, about 16,000. So maybe the catapult fighter is actually working. Looks like the Roman's going to get put down by someone else though. However, the game now looks like it's in the bag, and it's simply going to be a matter of finding that remaining cruiser, which I believe will probably be a Wichita, and seeing it through to the end of the game. We've only got 2 minutes left. Now, looking at the Yamato, you're probably noting one thing. First of all, there's no boats, and it's quite interesting. If you're looking at the back of the ship, just behind wide turret on the sides of the ship, you'll see that there's kind of like a funny like bulge which suddenly dips in. And what there is basically the boats would be stored inside the hull, and they would actually run out on rails out of these bulges which had doors on the end, in which then they could be lowered into the water. Which I guess is quite interesting, because what that does mean is, first of all, you don't have boats, fuel on the deck of the ship, so it means that reduces the chances of fires, I guess you could say, because obviously all this wood and fuel is all tucked away inside your armour a little bit. Furthermore, what you probably noticed, there's like a well in the back of the ship on the stern, which drops down, and on either side of that you can see the catapults for the fighters, the reconnaissance aircraft, whatever you want to call them, and then there's a crane. The aircraft are actually stored behind Y turret, but before this well in like a under the deck hangar. Now this became quite a common feature as well on some of the American battleships towards the end of World War II, and also on some of the American cruisers as well, with this idea of this lowered like hangar. Again, this means that aircraft which potentially have aviation fuel are not going to be up on the deck, therefore reducing that fire chance as well. So there's quite a lot of interesting things here. Obviously, I guess the biggest downside of the Yamato would be her AA competence in reality. There's the Wichita with 30 seconds left. Are we going to be able to seal the deal? That looks good enough to me. There we go, 2 Sicilians and another devastating strike, and getting a hell of a lot of medals there right at the end. So here we are at the end screen with 253,000 damage from 81 hits on target, getting 3 citadels, 1 fire, 8 secondary hits and 5 kills. Medals wise, we are looking at Fireproof, First Blood, Confederate, Dreadnought, 2 devastating strikes, High Caliber and Kraken Unleashed. So that's a very nice collection of medals to see it through to the end. Going on to the team results, and he's coming top of his team with 3,486 ship XP. That is following a 1.5 win multiplier, as his team is obviously the winning team. So quite a hefty chunk of ship XP to run away in the lead with. Going on to the economy screen. Obviously, the joys of playing Legendary 2, I guess you could say. He's only been able to walk away with a profit of 191,000 credits, and that is with a premium account. Now, he's not running any credit bases here, which is interesting, but if he didn't have the premium account, he would have only walked away with 35,000 credits. So all that effort, and he would have got pittance for it. Now, that's mostly due to the ship service cost here, which is 276,000 credits, which is almost double that of Tier 7. So Legendary Tier is very much for the rich, I guess you could say. But yeah, walking away with quite a hefty amount of ship XP, Glow XP, and Commander XP at the end there. Well, I hope you did enjoy this Admiralty report, and if you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. As always, down in the description will be the player's commander build and the modules used, if they are of interest to you. Also, the email address to the channel if you want to send any of your own game captures, and the link to Patreon if you want to support the channel on Patreon, as it is a non-monetized channel. I'd like to say thank you to all the subscribers, thank you to all the patrons, and also thank you to Eternal Blizzard for sending in this game capture. Until next time, I'm the guy from Major, and back to the port.
Hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the galloping Major. Bumpity, 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 bump. Get out of the way there, you fellows, unless you want me to run you down. I guess this is the life. Now, hey, hey, clear the way, here comes